The following video may contain offensive content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alright guys, so this one's sort of interesting. Back when I filmed my solo review, I sort of went off on a tangent talking about the Darth Maul cameo and how I didn't really care for it. And that review was sort of long enough as it was. But I did want to share my full thoughts on the matter. So this video is essentially my extended rant on the Maul cameo and some discussion of the sequels and how he could best be utilized in further movies. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. I saved this for last because this is my biggest criticism of the movie. One that almost completely ruined it for me. Keep in mind, this is just my opinion. The cameo with Darth Maul. I just thought it was awful. I thought it was awful. Why is that necessary? Kira uses Dryden's ring to activate some sort of panel and like the shades go down and all of a sudden this hologram comes up. So first thought I had was, is this the Emperor? But then you hear the voice and you're like, okay, well that's not the Emperor. Then they start to show a little more and more of the hologram and it's like, who is this? Who's this person that they're talking to? You're just so unsure, you don't know who it is. And then when they finally show it, it's Darth Maul. My buddy Ethan knows me pretty well and he knows that I'm not a fan of the Clone Wars. I didn't watch all the Clone Wars, I'll at least say that. I know that they brought back Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, and even just hearing that made me mad. I hate when shows and movies, whatever, bring someone back who's dead. So Ethan said he looked over at my face and he could tell I was really unhappy with it. Here's my argument. What does he have to do with the Crimson Dawn, or whatever they're called? Let's take it from the point of view of a Star Wars fan who has only seen the movies. You see Darth Maul in this, you know the timeline, you know that it's after the prequels but before the original trilogy. You see that Darth Maul's in it and you're like, well wait, isn't he dead by this point? Like I said, in this scenario, you've only seen the movies, but you're a big Star Wars fan like my mom is. My mom loves Star Wars. She's only watched the movies. She knows all of them, you know, she's a big fan. She's the one who introduced me to Star Wars. So she sees this and she's like, well, what's the deal? And that's sort of how I saw it. However, my filter was that I knew that he came back in Clone Wars and in Rebels, I just haven't seen those shows. So here's a second viewpoint. My buddy Ethan, he's watched all of Clone Wars and he's watched all of Rebels. I remember thinking to myself, I'll have to ask him what the meaning of this is when we get back to the car, because I'm at a loss as to why he's in this. But I asked him, I was like, okay, so in the context of Rebels and Clone Wars, does this appearance really make sense to you? And he thought about it and he's like, I really don't think so. The YouTuber Star Wars Explained made a video, I haven't watched it yet just for the fact that I wanted to convey my confusion in my review, but he made a video explaining Maul's cameo in Solo. Damn it, this fucking fly. Jesus. Other than the fact that I feel he should have been killed off in A Phantom Menace, even if you're going to do that, there has to be some context as to why he's in this movie. To me, it was just like, hey guys, remember Darth Maul? Here he is. Are you guys happy? What do you think, nerds? I also see it as a setup for sequels. Like, we're gonna introduce him in this movie and he's gonna have a bigger part in some other Star Wars movie. And that's sort of like the Marvel syndrome that I just absolutely hate. Like, let's introduce this one character or reintroduce a character so we can use him later in something else. And I just despise that. The story of Han Solo doesn't need the Sith and the Jedi and all of that. It should be about the criminal underworld. And for the most part it was. It was about the criminal underworld and how he got wrapped up in it. With this movie going into it, I didn't want to hear talk about the Jedi, I didn't want to hear talk about the Sith, and I didn't want to see a single lightsaber. And when they showed Darth Maul in that hologram, he lights up that lightsaber and he says, we'll get to know each other really well. So one thing, why did he ignite the lightsaber exactly? If Kira knows who he is, there was no need. It was basically just the movie saying, oh, in case you fucking forgot, I'm Darth Maul, I'm a bad guy, I got a red lightsaber. There was no fucking need to even ignite the lightsaber. Ignore the fact that he was in the scene, igniting the lightsaber, it was pointless. Also, going off my sequel theory, if they're gonna put him in another movie, what are they gonna put him in? It's all but been confirmed that they're making a Kenobi spin-off. If they put him in that, I'm gonna be pissed because I know that they have a showdown in Rebels. I know that he finds Kenobi on Tatooine and they have a showdown. So if they make a spin-off movie of something that's already happened in the cartoon, I would think that's really stupid. Over the last few days, there have been a couple articles saying that there's rumors that James Mangold, the guy who directed Logan, which personally I love, I think it's a fantastic movie. You can even check out my movie review of it if you wish. which is going to be directing a Boba Fett spin-off film. A Boba Fett spin-off film is not something I've really wanted. Of course, I didn't want a Han Solo spin-off film either. I thought it was a terrible idea when I first heard about it. If they're going to use Darth Maul again, I think it would make sense more to put him in the Boba Fett film than the Kenobi film, just for the fact that they did the showdown between Maul and Kenobi in Rebels. If they have Maul controlling the Crimson Dawn or whatever it's called, or some other criminal organization, that could play into a Boba Fett film, I think, pretty well. However, I still think a Boba Fett film is completely unnecessary. He had, what, like 4 lines of dialogue? We don't need a whole movie for him. However, some may argue that that's a better idea for a spin-off film, a character that didn't really have that much development. To get back to the whole Darth Maul thing, boy did I trail off. If they're going to bring him back in a sequel, I think it would make more sense to be in a Boba Fett film about the criminal underworld similar to Solo than to put it in a Kenobi film, because they've already had that. If they do a Kenobi film at all, and I'm going on a tangent here, I think it should be about him watching over Luke from a distance, and there was a particular story where he saves the Lars homestead from raiding Tusken Raiders. It's a really good story, and I think if they do anything, they should do something like that, because Kenobi cutting down a bunch of Tusken Raiders that are trying to raid the Lars homestead, I think that'd make a fantastic movie, honestly. To wrap it up, the Darth Maul scene almost ruined it for me. I just hated it. It just seemed so forced, it seemed crammed in, and like I said, from my perspective, it didn't make any sense, and Ethan, who had seen Clone Wars and Rebels, it didn't really make any sense to him.